Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way morning briefing live. It's Thursday, March the 2nd. Always glance down at my diary there, Aidan, because it's like getting older these days. But there you go. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 Twitter handle, which you all know by now, and I'm joined today by Aidan Macdonald at Aidan C. Macdonald. Good morning, Aidan. How are you?
Morning, Tony. How's it going? I'm good.
Yes, I'm very well. I'm very well. Now, we were going to look ahead to St Mirren, weren't we? But hey, lots of things have cropped up. It's never dull in the life of Celtic, and we'll get to that. But first things first, the housekeeping. We do it every day, and we urge you, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the wonderful venture that is the Celtic Way, ladies and gentlemen. And if you subscribe to the Celtic Way website and support top quality football journalism covering the club you love, it'll cost you the grand sum of £2 for 2 months for unlimited access to everything that's written on the website. It's all for the click of a button. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. And we also say thank you to SENECA. And SENECA, as we all know by now, sponsor the Celtic Way morning briefing is now sponsored by SENECA Medical Group. And SENECA are the #1 hair transplant company in Europe, and they offer innovative hair restoration treatments. And you can find out more about SENECA via the links in the description of this video. Now, Aidan, I said there's topics a go, and there is, which is overnight it's become apparent, or to our knowledge, that Mikey Johnston, Celtic player currently on loan to Vitória Guimarães in Portugal, is indicated that he is going to switch his international allegiance, and I think he's signed the forms and he's waiting on FIFA approval, having had a chat with Stephen Kenny, the Republic of Ireland manager, and he qualifies to play for Ireland through having grandparents from Derry. And he looks as if he's decided to follow both James McCarthy before him and Aidan Begidi before him by switching allegiance from Scotland to Republic of Ireland. What say you to that, young Aidan?
I think, obviously, a couple of things. Firstly, it probably does make sense to an extent that he's maybe, if he's wanting to play international football, that he was maybe going to look to switch, because I know he's represented Scotland under 21 level, but he's not really been playing consistently at first team level for a few years now. I know he's obviously on loan this season. He has made 20 appearances, but it's tapered off a wee bit after a sort of good start. So, given the sort of kind of options that Scotland have, and also the talk of somebody like Ben Doak potentially getting a cap in the near future, or even being included in the squad, that would be a place, once again, that Mikey Johnston wouldn't really be able to take, even if he was playing all the time. So, look, he's getting to that age, he probably does want to be playing in internationals, potentially get a chance to go and play at a tournament. I know Ireland have been struggling a wee bit recently, but also they've got to point at tournaments in the past, and he's probably thinking, I'm maybe not going to get the chance to do that. I just hope to get a Scotland call up from Steve Clarke. So I think it makes sense for him wanting to probably develop his career, Tony, to be honest.
You said to me off air, and you made a very valid point, that he may be looking at the likes of David Turnbull, who's been included in numerous squads, but somehow hasn't managed to cement a regular starting slot for Scotland or get a lot of game time. Do you see him looking on at that and thinking, well, if it's happening to a player like David Turnbull, who's highly rated and is kind of struggling both at club level and international level to get lots of game time, then maybe that's in his thoughts about switching international allegiance, and, as you say, get international honours, because the manager's very big on that.
Yeah, I think the David Turnbull example is probably a good one to make, because that is somebody who, like you say, has been involved. He might not always start for Celtic, but he's always in and around the thick of it. And I honestly can't remember the last time he got a start for Scotland. And I think during the last Nations League campaign, which also was a wee while ago now, sorry, not a wee while ago, last year, I think he may have had one appearance off the bench or something, but outside of that, he was always on the squad. He was always in the squad, but he never really was involved. And Mikey Johnston would be kind of sort of step below that again, firstly because he's not been capped for Scotland, obviously, which is why he's away to, by the looks of it, to play for Ireland. And secondly, he's not really playing even anywhere near regular first team football when he was at Celtic. So, yeah, I think it makes complete sense, Tony, and good luck to him.
Yeah, Derek Crawford coming in, good decision in my opinion. He would not get a game for Scotland. Paul Byrne says, I think Mikey flatters to deceive and does not show the consistency Ange demands. Therefore, I see him leaving in the summer as well. We'll come on to that. Simon Thomas says he's not good enough to make the Scotland team, so why not if you want to play international football? A few comments coming in, and Beach Boys is saying Mikey Johnston needs to play 21st team games in a row for a club team before he can think he's an international player. Lots of comments there, Aidan, but he's maybe thinking as well, because Ireland faced Latvia on March the 22nd in a friendly, and then they take on World Cup runners-up France in European Championship qualifying, 2024 qualifier. So if FIFA pushed this through, he could end up playing international football sooner and quicker than he thinks. So he's maybe got that in his mind as well, Aidan.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a good time to kind of be joining up an international squad, isn't it, at the start of a campaign when there's still all the sort of, I know there's not been a lot of positivity with the Irish national team recently, but you're looking forward to maybe this can be the chance to turn things around rather than, joining right in the middle of a campaign when there's not a lot to play for. And probably a friendly against Latvia would provide the sort of perfect opportunity for them to bed in, and then a chance to play against France. I mean, who wouldn't want that, being able to test yourself against the very best? So, yeah, it could be something in the long run that does help him, because maybe if he wasn't going to be getting a game for Scotland, even if he was playing, if he does come back, I mean, I don't know if I could see him, no matter how strong a finish he has to the season in Portugal, I don't personally think I could see him coming in and being a regular starter next season for Celtic. But if he does come in and he's contributing next season, then he's also able to go and play, 7, 8, 9 international games a season, that will sort of help him build up a bit. So I think it's positive, to be honest, Tony. I think it's not a bad thing.
Now, you touched upon there Paul Byrne's comment about he doesn't see him, or he sees him leaving in the summer and not a future at Celtic. Do you go along with that? Do you subscribe to that? I've always had my doubts about Mikey Johnston being able to cut it at Celtic, and I voiced those opinions very vociferously, but people knew my thoughts on him. I think Mikey Johnston would benefit from going elsewhere and try to resurrect his career, and obviously if he gets international recognition with Ireland, that could help him. But I agree with Paul. I just think he's maybe not at the level that Ange demands, and he would be better opting to leave Celtic in the summer. But the manager might have plans for him, so we'll see what happens. But I think his future lies away from Celtic. I agree with Paul. What about yourself?
Well, in the summer, I would just there before he did go on loan, I probably would have agreed with you. But the fact he did sign a contract extension before going, now you could maybe say that's just so Celtic can bargain more if a team wants to sign him in the summer. But that did kind of make me think. I think that's the only example of a player since Andrews came in before they went out on loan that they've actually signed an extension like that, which said to me that maybe he is in his plans to an extent. I mean, maybe that is going to be based off how well he does it in this loan spell, which, as I was saying, has kind of been a wee bit up and down. It started quite well, but it's tapered off a wee bit. It could be. It's hard. I mean, the wing positions at Celtic are so strong, aren't they? Jota, Maida, Abada, Haksabanovic, even someone like James Forrest, he's not really been involved that much, but you would say he's ahead of Mikey Johnston in the pecking order, wouldn't you? So that's just, 5 players there. And that's before you even consider on young players as well, because obviously Andrew's mentioned before that next kind of 6 or 12 months he'd like to see a couple of the B team players come up. Or it's his plan, to try and include them. I'd imagine there'll probably be a winger amongst that lot as well. So Rocco Vata even. I think it is difficult. Look, I always did have quite a lot of time for Mikey Johnston. I thought he was capable of kind of breaking through, but I think injuries has really hampered him, Tony. And I mean, that one he got back in 2020 against St Johnstone, not long before also the season got stopped because of COVID. I think that just completely derailed him, because I mean, he then spent like the whole break and a good chunk of the next season injured, and then by the time Ange came in, he hadn't really been playing. So I was looking at the stats just before I came on. It was something like 20 appearances, 1 assist last season, and I think a good chunk of those appearances were off the bench, weren't they? So he's not really been used to regularly starting. And yeah, look, it's one we'd have to wait and see, but I don't expect him to be coming in and being a starter next season. Whether or not he's got a future at the club, I don't know.
Up to the manager. Derek Crawford coming in and says the squad number has already been given away, Tony. read into that what you will. And so, yeah, there you have it. We'll see what happens with the future of Mikey Johnston, if he has a future at Celtic or not. But he's certainly looking like he's going to have a future at international level with the Republic of Ireland. Now, speaking of wingers at Celtic, Liel Abada has been talking about how Harry Kewell's been helping him this season, despite the fact that he's maybe not been a regular starter for Celtic. But, I mean, he's still got 3.5 years of his deal to go, Liel Abada, but he's scored 26 goals and created 14. He's got 14 assists and 91 appearances for Celtic so far, which is good shooting. Aidan, that's good stats. But he was talking about Harry Kewell, and he was saying, I feel like I'm a better player than I was last season, to be honest. I think I can still learn a lot from the manager and his coaching staff to get even better. I think this season my goal is to get the left back one-on-one more and get confidence. The players help me with that, and the coaches do extra with me after training, help me with what to do, what not to do, what is better for me, what's not better for me. I just want to learn and want to get better and better. Gavin Strachan and Harry Kewell do it with me all the time. I just want to get better for me, the team, the club, and everyone. And he says, I think we can learn a lot from Harry because he played in the Premier League and he had an amazing career. He teaches us a lot about football because we are young players and want to get better all the time. It's very important for us that Harry looks after us. And he says, I didn't watch him play as I was still too young. I don't remember that, but I've watched videos on him after I met him, and he was a very, very good player, and he had an amazing career. It's a pleasure for me to learn from this player, and I just want to work hard. But Harry's very good as he looks after us all. That's quite good to hear, isn't it? And I remember back at the start when Harry Kewell was appointed, and I wrote a piece with Davis Kaler-Dunn, who played with him down south, or played under him down south, and he said that's exactly what Harry Kewell would do. He said, look for Harry Kewell's influence being making your forward players better. So I think you can see that, can't you, that Harry Kewell's knowledge and experience has been invaluable because all the forward players are certainly worthy of the name playing for Celtic, and their reputation precedes them. They are getting better. Even I looked at Sid Haksabanovic with his cameo on Sunday, and he was excellent. You can see kind of Harry Kewell influence there, can't you?
Yeah, I think Harry Kewell's been a positive appointment, and Abada, obviously, he's not the first player to come out and publicly speak about that. I think Maida said as well, so it was either just before the World Cup or just after it, I can't remember exactly, that Harry Kewell, he feels improved his game a lot. And I think you can see with both of those players that definitely their dribbling and their sort of touch, taking guys one-on-one is definitely improved. Abada, you definitely see him doing it a lot more, whereas last year he was maybe guilty of turning back and trying to pass it to maybe the fullback or just go inside. But this season he's definitely been taking on his man a lot more, and I think he's been getting joy from that. We obviously knew he was already a goal scorer. I mean, his numbers last year, 15 goals, I think it was, wasn't it, Tony? So
yeah,
which was very impressive for a debut season that we probably didn't think he was going to play a lot in when he joined. So, but yeah, I think he's definitely worked on his game, and that's only a positive. And with 3.5 years in his contract, you said he's got left, yeah.
3.5 years, yeah.
That he's obviously still got a good, hopefully a good bit of time at the club left in him, and he's only going to get better because he's still a young player, isn't he? So the fact that he's putting up these numbers at this stage when he's still developing is only a positive. And yeah, Harry Kewell seems to have really, maybe not, I don't mean really improved the forwards, because obviously a lot of them were really good last season as well, but definitely seems to have added an extra edge to them, which can only be a good thing.
You look at the wide players that we have at our disposal in the team, Aidan, it's one of the strongest positions on the part there is, as I keep saying, a plethora of options there, but you look at, you toss and turn over it every week, don't you? I imagine the manager does as well, as to who your two wide players are going to be. 1 week it's Jota and Maida, then it's Jota and Abada, then it's, lots of people want to see more of Haksabanovic, and if a player like Abada with those numbers can't command a regular game, then there's a high standard there at the club. And you see, working under a guy like Harry Kewell, who's been there, seen it and done it, can only help improve them.
Yeah, it can. I mean, he's literally played at the top of the game, played at World Cups, won the Champions League. played in the Premier League for years with Leeds and Liverpool. So yeah, working with somebody like that is only going to make you better. And on top of and just sort of coaching Gavin Stratton as well. I know he got a mention there. Don't want to leave him out because a few players have mentioned him saying he's improved their game as well. So yeah, it seems to be that the attackers have probably all maybe actually improved a wee bit this season. Even if maybe every single one of them at the moment doesn't have the exact same numbers, I think you can see their overall games have got better. And yeah, that's a strong place to be because that's what you want your coaches to be doing, improving the players, which is a very basic thing to say, but sometimes it isn't always the case, or it hasn't always been the case in the past. So the fact that that seems to be happening right now is good.
Lots of people bringing up Sunday's dive, Aidan. Blatant dive by...
Hopefully Harry Kewell didn't teach him
that. Yeah.
But
they'll say that the whole Harry Kewell hasn't had that influence on him, but yeah, we'll call that out. That was a blatant dive. That was poor from Abada on Sunday, and I actually thought he had a chance to go on and score. I don't know what you thought. I mean, because he wasn't. He seemed to be in control. He was expecting contact, which didn't come, but if he keeps the head, as they say, and keeps his eye on the ball, he'd a chance to run through and score. So I don't know why he chose or opted to go to ground. And again, I go back to it. Great spot by the referee, Nick Walsh. He was right on it, and he booked him. And when I saw it in real time, I thought it was a penalty. I only had to see the TV replay to convince myself that it was a blatant dive. So good call by Nick Walsh in real time to say that it was a dive and book him. And he deservedly get booked for that. I saw a referee, was it Des Roach? He was banging about yesterday saying that players should be sent off for that. Not so sure about that, but certainly I know that would certainly be a deterrent to stop players from diving if they get sent off. But I think that he got a necessary booking even for that. Don't want to see that.
Yeah, it was one of those ones. Obviously, I wasn't at the game like you and Sean, so I was covering it from home, and you could see straight away that it was definitely a dive. And then when you seen it kind of closer up, it was very clear. And I think the angle, like it was almost like behind a bad looking on. He probably did have the option to go on. I don't think it was going to be like 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, but he might have a chance to sort of cut it back or maybe get a shot away. So yeah, that was a bit disappointing. In terms of the red card thing, I think that's a bit harsh, to be honest.
Yeah.
If referees are going to be sending guys off for that, but you see some of the challenges that get given out, and it's only a yellow, some really harsh challenge that can put players in danger. I think they would a better focus maybe sorting that out before they worry about giving a guy a yellow card for a dive. But I think the fact that it is a consistent yellow card is a deterrent to an extent. You don't always see that much, Tony, really. I mean, that's the first one I can remember with a Celtic player for a while. There could have been another one recently, and it's just went over the top of my head. But I don't think you always see diving as much as you once did because it is like a consistent yellow card. I think a red's a wee bit of a step too far. But
here's one for the older generation. Aidan, Pete McGee. Haven't seen a diver in our team since John Divers. There you go. John Divers, player in the mid-60s, I believe. Right. Just predates the Lisbon Lions, guys like that. I'm sure Pete will keep us right on that. But yeah, and Derek Crawford coming in saying I'm soon and will have had a word in his ear, to be honest. I'm sure he will have. Gary Madden saying Sammy had some cracking dives in his day. There you go. But yeah, I didn't like to see that. I thought that was pretty poor from Abada, and I'm sure the manager did have a word in his ear about that because it's not what you want, is it? Now, Aidan, you did a newsletter yesterday and you were talking about Kyogo. Kyogo now hot on the heels of Dembele and Gary Hooper. Isn't that right, in terms of scoring? I'll flick the link up here for those who didn't receive the newsletter and haven't read it on the web. Good read this, guys, from young Aidan. Have a look. Some interesting stats and facts there in the newsletter. But talk us through, Aidan, give us a flavour of that.
Yeah, so obviously Kyogo, he's not even finished his second full season at Celtic, but he's currently got 44 goals in 68 games. So I just thought it'd be interesting to compare sort of the first two full seasons for strikers in recent years at the club. So I included Edouard in that, Dembele, Lee Griffiths, Anthony Stokes and Gary Hooper. Obviously didn't want to go the first two seasons for every Celtic striker, Tony. I'd still be sitting there writing it, but in the sort of kind of last, 10, 11 years or so going back, because I think Hooper and Stoke signed 2010. So, yeah, last sort of 12, 13 year. And, basically, he's already got a sort of better goals to game ratio in his first 2 seasons than Edouard and Anthony Stokes. And he's very much hot on the heels. I think he's only a few off Dembele. And obviously Celtic have got at least 13 games left this season, 12 in the league, one in the Scottish Cup, potentially 15 if they were to get to the final. So I think there's probably a good chance of him beating Dembele. And then Hooper as well. I think with Griffiths, he had something like 61 goals in 91 games or something like that. And it's probably going to be too hard for Kyogo to get that stat unless he gets a few hat-tricks, which probably shows how good that season was for Griffiths in 2015-16. But yeah, I thought it was interesting to match up Kyogo with sort of previous strikers. When you look at his numbers, he's definitely up there with the most prolific and the most sort of limited game time. Obviously, he has been injured. I think it was about 3 months he was out for last season, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There's a few caveats when you're comparing the players. Obviously, when Edouard and Dembele joined, I think they were both 19, so very much form. And I think Dembele quickly did turn 20, but they very much had the kind of formative, competitive seasons at Celtics. Whereas Kyogo arrived 26. I know the system in Japan, he hadn't been playing professional since he was 17 or anything like that, but he was still an experienced player. He'd bbeen through a few seasons in the J League by that point, so he's kind of in his peak now. Whereas obviously Edouard and Dembele weren't anywhere near theirs, but. Obviously Griffiths and Hooper and Stokes, it was all kind of a similar age. So yeah, it was an interesting one to do, and it did demonstrate that he's been lethal since coming to Celtic, and I can only imagine if he didn't have that sort of hamstring injury last year, Tony, he could probably have at least another 15 goals on top of that by now.
Yeah, Derek Crawford seems a very good read. He was surprised with the stats, to be honest. Indeed, it was a very good read. I agree with that. And John Hill saying he hopes Kyogo stays injury-free. That's the only worry. And K Max was saying he's headed for 33 goals this season. I can't remember what I predicted, Aidan, on me, but we all had a go at his final tally, didn't we?
I think I said 30 plus, to be fair. So
yeah,
he's on 24 right now. So given there's at least 13 games, I don't think 7 more goals are realistic.
David Holmes says Kyogo will net 35 this season. I think I've said run about that. I'm not sure. And Angelo Tyler saying Hacksaw needs more accuracy when he shoots and goals. That's Haksabanovic they're talking about. Here we go. David Ferguson, go back and watch the match and tell me Abada and Haksabanovic are unhappy. That's obviously replying to someone in the comments. And he never missed a chance. He's guilty of. Kyogo would break all the records, in my opinion. Well, I remember saying he's going to be one of those strikers right at the start. I think it was his first game against Dundee. He could have had a double hat-trick. And everybody was impressed with that hat-trick at Celtic Park. And I said he's going to be one of those strikers who misses chances too. And people were getting on my case. And I was just like, well, that's what I'm watching. And yeah, I agree with Derek Crawford. He does miss a lot of chances, but he also buries a lot of chances. So people are going saying, imagine Kyogo's numbers if he took the penalties. If Kyogo did penalties, he would hit 40. That's it. Has he taken a penalty for Celtic? Aidan, I'm not.
No, I can't remember if he took one in that famous Sydney Super Cup shootout, Tony, against Everton. He might have taken one in that friendly. I can't fully remember because I was absolutely shattered watching that. But in terms of competitively, he's not taking one when I was going through the numbers, which does make his sort of tally very impressive, because when you look at the sort of other players I mentioned, Edouard, Griffiths, Dembele, they all did take quite a few penalties as part of that. I missed a few, to be fair. It wasn't like all the goals were penalties, but there was at least, I think, 5+ penalties for each of them within their totals that I was looking at. So the fact Kyogo's not had that is probably does once again show it's been impressive stats from.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, Derek Crawford comes in and says Kyogo misses easy ones and scored the hard ones. Maida is the same. There's an element to that, isn't there? And then John Hutchins, when do Celtic ever get penalties? Laugh out loud. There you go, Aidan. And David.
I just wanted to say, Tony, just when we were touching on Kyogo missing chances, obviously he does, particularly in the Champions League this season, which was frustrating for some fans. But what I would say is, I think with Kyogo, you could maybe you could put a striker in there, maybe they get 10 more goals a season on him, but they wouldn't have his movement or his build-up play that he offers.
Yeah.
Probably, even if he's not getting direct assists, if you believe in, kind of secondary assist, pre-assist, whatever you want to call it, Kyogo's probably contributing another good few goals from that perspective, whereas you might have somebody who's a bit more lethal in the box, maybe rather than getting 30 goals a season, gets 40 goals a season, but can't offer a lot in terms of build-up play, which overall would sort of hamper the team. So I think that is probably maybe something worth mentioning, just when obviously...
without a doubt. Listen, I think everybody of us, Celtic frame of mind, loves Kyogo, loves what he brings to the team, that work ethic, the ability to play guys in and also get involved and offer a lot more than just a natural goal scorer, which he clearly is. But I don't think 30 plus is beyond him, the way he's going. I mean, those 2 goals on Sunday were just, even Alan McCoist in the commentary box was saying they were real strikers' goals. You have to be in there. But the movement for the second goal is just incredible. I mean, he's on the go as soon as Moy gets the ball, anticipating that it's going to go to Haggerty and going to come across the goal. He is on the move, which is why it caught out Barisic again, who just can't cope with someone running off him and coming in behind him and scoring. But thankfully, but no, his movement's incredible. And if you've got players who are going to hit that near post, they're aiming for him because they know he should be there, and he does it instinctively now. And also, it's obviously been worked on as well, but it's the first thing they think of, isn't it? When they look up and they're hitting that near post area, they're thinking he should be there, and they put it in there as a matter of course. And more often than not, he is there. So big up to him. And as the manager once said, he's built like a jockey. You think of the big guys he has to beat to get there in order to put the ball in the net. So I think the beauty of Sunday's 2 goals where he made it look simple, but it's the hardest thing in the world to be in that position, to know where the ball's going to be and to get yourself in there to score. But he just made it look easy. And Matsu comes in here and says that's the thing with both Kyogo and Maeda. They're pressing the ball at full tilt and creating chances. It can be messy at times, but the number of chances balances out. Yeah, I agree with that to a large extent. I just think the 2 other movements just incredible, and it's hard to deal with, Aidan.
Yeah, it is. And just when you were talking about the example of the goal, the second goal at the weekend, I mean, Barisic just sort of only solution, and you seen that was basically once Kyogo almost had the ball in the net, was just pull him down to try and foul. So there would have been a penalty there, even if for whatever reason he hadn't got his foot on it. But yeah, his movement is just so dangerous. And I think even in the Champions League, I know he wasn't lethal in front of goal, right? He'll be frustrated himself. He probably could have had, 3 or 4 goals in that group stage, if we're being honest. Like a few other players, it wasn't just him. I'm just highlighting him because also we're talking about Kyogo. But his movement was still excellent. Like, even against top level teams, his movement was causing problems, which I think just shows you how talented he is. Just the finishing was slightly off, but he was getting, even at the Bernabeu in the last game, he was getting, in some really good positions and getting ahead of some top defenders. So yeah, look, Kyogo's been a brilliant signing, and fingers crossed next season, if Celtic do win the league and in the Champions League, he can maybe just add some more goals in Europe.
That would be the improvement, isn't it, that Celtic are looking for, and the learning curve that everyone was on last season, and to show that he can score goals at that level. We'd all love to see that. And Derek Crawford saying, Tony, the way top ex-players talk about his movement tells you everything you need to know. Exactly. I spoke to one of them the other week, John Hartson. He said he compared his movement. Remember, listen to the words, compared his movement to that of Henrik Larsson. Henrik Larsson, when he's pumping serum at Celtic Park, he'd make those near post runs. Alan Thompson would find them, or John Hartson would move the back post runs, knock it down, knowing fine well that Henrik Larsson would be there and at the near post having run in. So he was talking about that it was a similar trait he was saying. So yeah, I think lots of ex-players admire Kyogo's movement and the way he goes about his business, but nobody admires him more than Ange Postecoglou and the Celtic supporters and his teammates at this moment in time, Aidan. Now, I wanted to finish with this one, Aidan, if you will let me. Lisbon Lion, John Fallon, I don't know if you've seen this, guys, but it's on the website today. It's a wonderful story. He's teamed up with Jamie Doran, who is an Emmy winner documentary filmmaker. He made the documentary film with Al Jazeera, the fans that make football, that we did the Celtic one. But they are hopefully going to build a school in the South Sudan, because Jamie was covering an absolute horrendous situation in South Sudan. If you want to read the torment in South Sudan with the kids and what happens with them, it's brutal stuff, absolutely brutal. But from this, there's some light emerged, and Jamie got talking to a guy called Alison Tunga, who repelled Coney's terrorist forces, basically, from the area in the South Sudan. And as all Celtic supporters do, they talk about their club all the time. And this Alison Tunga, who was part of the rebel forces who repelled the forces, was intrigued by John Fallon's story about being the 12th Lisbon Lion. And he said to Jamie, I want to build a school. There's 500 children in a school who in the village who get taught under trees and stuff like that. And now they've set a GoFundMe page to raise 90,000 because they've been given land and permission to build a school. And in the South Sudan, they're going to call it the 12th Lion School. I mean, it's incredible. So John Fallon's going to be immortalised in the South Sudan with the 12th Lion School. And John was talking about that as well. He's delighted to put his name to the project, and hopefully the Celtic fans can help the GoFundMe and raise the money. I think they need just short of 90,000. It's all in the story, but it's an incredible story, Aidan, just how the Celtic travels all across the world. And Jamie said he wanted to do it for two reasons, because John Fallon was the 12th man in Lisbon, and he was a substitute goalkeeper. But when the final whistle went, John Fallon's medal was taken off him and given to one of the Celtic directors at the time. And Jamie said that was terrible. And it's only recently that John Fallon was finally presented with his Lisbon Lion medal from the 1967 European Cup win, and he deserves it. So he's being immortalised, hopefully, with the building of this school in the South Sudan, which will educate young kids who Jamie Doran said were the most traumatised kids he'd ever seen in his life. And he's covered wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and places like that. So that tells you something about the torment that they have gone through. So hopefully, as I say, some light comes out of this darkness and that school's built, and John Fallon will be immortalised in the South Sudan. Isn't it? It's quite an incredible tale. It really is. As I say, I urge you to go and read the piece. Your heart will sink, but it will also be lifted by what's going to happen at the end of it all.
Yeah, it's obviously a sort of very sad story overall that hopefully is going to have a sort of positive outcome. And yeah, Tony, I think a few people are asking about the GoFundMe link. That's obviously in the article.
Yeah, it's in the article at the end. There's a link to that at the end. If you click on that, there's a paragraph that says, for those who wish to find out more about the 12th Lion School or to donate to the Just Giving page, click here. So the link's in there for you if you want to, as I say, find out more. And it's unbelievable, Aidan. It's a wonderful story in terms of what's coming out of a really desperate and sad war situation, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not good at all what's been happening, but the fact that it is hopefully going to have some sort of positive resolution, and the fact there's obviously the sort of Celtic angle with it as well does once again show what we all know, that the club does have a sort of worldwide appeal, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, a school sort of in South Sudan getting named after somebody who was obviously on the bench for the European Cup final in 1967, really is something else. So yeah, we'd urge everybody to go and read that, and if possible, donate through the GoFundMe link.
Yeah, I mean, having spoke to John Fallon, he's just delighted at it all, and I spoke to Jamie as well. It's It's incredible. It's just a wonderful, amazing tale. Really is an amazing tale, and Jamie said it had a duality of purpose: one, to build the school, and two, to get John Fallon the recognition that he deserves as well, which says a lot about Jamie as well. I think it's to be applauded, and yeah, I think Celtic supporters, when they see this, will be deeply touched by it, and they might want to donate. I think it was up for a couple of days, Aidan, last week, and they'd raised already £5 or £6 it's just like it just shows you just people are desperate to help in these situations as well. But I think the total, as I say, is just short of £90 they need to raise to build the school, having been given permission to build it on the land in the South Sudan. So wish everybody involved in that project well. Hope it gets done. And as I say, if you want to read an amazing tale, then click on the story and read it for yourself. Parts of it are harrowing, but yeah, there's some light at the end of this tunnel, hopefully, with the building of this school, which will benefit all the children and honour the great John Fallon, the 12th Lion, as it's going to be known, Aidan. Can't say much better than that. There you have it. Now, we will preview St Mirren. Celtic move on to Paisley. Don't mention Paisley in September, Aidan. Right. We'll go on to Paisley on Sunday. We'll preview that in full tomorrow, and we'll have our predictions, predicted lineups, all that kind of stuff. But thank you for joining us today, Aidan. Thanks for your input today. First class. Thanks for the comments, guys. I urge you, as I say, to go and read that John Fallon story. You'll like it. It's good. And yeah, and as we do every day, I urge you to subscribe to the Celtic Way. Click a button, costs you £2 for 2 months of access to everything that we write on the website, and it's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. And we also say thank you to SENECA. As you all know now, Celtic Way Morning Briefing is now sponsored by SENECA Medical Group, and SENECA are the #1 hair transplant company in Europe, and they offer innovative hair restoration treatments. And you can find out more about SENECA via the links in the description of this video. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Aidan. Take care, guys. We'll see you all again tomorrow.
Cheers, guys.